Hello everybody, Joe Orbit coming at you. Today we are going to talk more about long-term care. Specifically, we're going to talk about different types of coverage that you can purchase to protect yourself from this expense. And let's talk about what the expense is. But before I get into that, make sure if you've not watched my video on the basics of what is long-term care, chronic illness, why you need it, make sure you stop this, pause this video, go back and watch that video so you have a good understanding of what chronic illness actually is and how it can affect you, and then come back to this video and let's just jump into it. So, chronic illness. It is going to cost you a lot of money to take care of yourself, to take care of a loved one if you become chronically ill. And that is if you can't meet one of those activities or two of those activities of daily living. In the United States today, on average, it costs about $275 per day to stay in a nursing home. Now there's different places that you can get care. You can get care inside of a nursing home. You can get care inside of an assisted living facility. If your care isn't as high, you can go to adult daycare. And then of course you can always stay at your own home and you can get home health care. And each of those different levels of care have different costs associated with them. But let's, for the conversation's sake today, let's say nursing home care in the US today runs about $275 a day. The average stay in a home is a tad under 3 years. So you're looking at an expense out of pocket of around $300,000. That's a lot of money to take care of someone or to take care of yourself if you become chronically ill. So what a lot of people will do is they will get an insurance policy. They'll get something to cover themselves. Now, if you've done nothing, if you haven't bought a policy, then you're doing what we call self-insuring. That means that you're hoping that you have enough money, you have enough assets that you can pay for these expenses out of your own pocket. And if you're married, you have to think about that because they could take away your assets and those assets could also be your spouse's assets, and then your money's gone, their money's gone, you're not around, they're broke, not a good idea. So you want to look at different types of policies. Traditional long-term care has been around for a while. We've had it for over 20 years. Unfortunately, the biggest players, the Prudentials, the MetLifes, the Genworths, they're no longer in the industry because it became too expensive for them to uphold those policies. Now, they still honor those policies. They haven't gotten rid of them, but you can't buy new policies from those people. There's 3 different types of policies you can get. We have reimbursement policies, we have indemnity policies, and we have cash indemnity policies. And we're going to talk about all 3 of these, but let's first talk about traditional long-term care policies, which are reimbursement policies. They typically go off of a per day expense. So if you were to buy a policy today, you'd be looking for coverage of about $300 a day, and then they're going to cover you for a length of time. You would look for a policy that's probably going to cover you for maybe 3 years. So that policy would have an amount of money that you could spend of roughly around $300,000. $275 to $300 a day, 365 days a year for 3 years, that should cover you. Other areas you want to look at in those policies are, what type of institutions do they cover? Does it pay for a traditional nursing home, an assisted living facility, an adult daycare? And most importantly, does it cover home health care? Those are very important factors to have inside your policy. Another area you want to look at when you're looking at a traditional long-term care policy is, does it have an elimination period? What is an elimination period? That's the amount of time you must wait before the policy starts paying out. So if you become chronically ill and a doctor or a social worker or a nurse says you are chronically ill, you can't perform 2 out of the 5 activities of daily living, or you suffer from severe cognitive impairment, then they would start counting 1, 2, 3. And if you have a 90-day elimination period, that means you're responsible for the first 90 days. Now, why do they do 90 days on average? Because Medicare will cover a portion up to the first 90 days of your stay in a nursing home facility if it was preceded by a stay in a hospital. Now, they've talked about getting rid of that preceded by a stay in a hospital, but right now that's part of it. So if you're going to go to a nursing home, make sure you go to a hospital first so you can get Medicare to cover the first 90 days. So if you have an elimination period of 90 days, that means a policy will not pay out for those first 90 days. And at $300 a day, 90 days stay in a nursing home could cost you $27,000 out of your pocket. So make sure you pay attention to that elimination period, or you have a stay in a hospital before you go into the home. Another area you have to look at when you're purchasing a traditional reimbursement long-term care policy, it typically only covers skilled care. That means you have to have a nurse or someone who's licensed give you that care. You can't have a family member, you can't have a friend do it. So there are a lot of restrictions with traditional reimbursement policies. Another area they look at with a reimbursement policy is they're going to say, look, we're only going to reimburse up to the amount that you actually had billed for that day. So for instance, if you have a $100 a day policy and let's say your bills are $85, they're only going to pay you $85 because you didn't spend the whole $100. On the other hand, if you have a $100 a day policy and your bills are $130, they're only going to cover the 100, the other 30 comes out of your pocket. Things you need to think about with a traditional reimbursement policy. Another area of concern, and I'm seeing this right now with my clients, these policies have premiums, and the premiums are not level. So you buy a policy today, you may be paying $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a year. 10 years from now, you could be paying $10,000, $15,000 a year. I am seeing the increases on these policies exceed 20% per year. Another area of concern with these policies is, let's say you can't afford to pay for the policy anymore. They're not going to cover you. Now, they will give you what they call an indemnity portion, which they'll say whatever you've paid in, typically they'll let you use that towards expenses. But if you can't afford the policy anymore, the policy's no good. If you die and never use the policy, it doesn't go to anybody, okay? These are issues and things you have to be thinking about if you're going to go with a traditional long-term care policy. Will you die and never use it? Will it get so expensive you can't afford it anymore? And will you just cancel the policy and never have to use the benefit? Issues that I've found with a traditional reimbursement policy. What I typically recommend is a cash indemnity policy. A cash indemnity policy is a policy that says you qualify for the care, so we're just going to give you that amount of money for the month and have you spend it however you want to spend it. So if the policy covers $300 a day and we have 30 days in the month, they're just going to give you a check for $9,000 and say, here you go, spend the money however you want to spend the money. So unlike a traditional indemnity policy where you have to have a skilled nurse or a skilled worker and you have to submit receipts and they'll only pay you up to whatever was charged in that day, in a cash indemnity policy, they simply say you qualify, here's your monthly distribution, spend it however you want to spend it. And they don't care where you're at. You don't have to go to a nursing home. You don't have to go to an assisted living facility. You don't have to go to an adult daycare. You can stay home or be somewhere overseas. It doesn't matter where you are. They will give you the money to spend however you want to spend it. So how do you get one of these cash indemnity plans? They're typically offered through life insurance. So what you can do with new life insurance policies that are being issued by a ton of life insurance companies, you can get a chronic illness rider that in effect says whatever the death benefit is can become your coverage for long-term care for a chronic illness expense. So they'll say, okay, you have $1 million death benefit. They'll let you distribute up to $1 million based on your age to pay for your long-term care over, say, a 3 or a 4 year period. The beautiful thing about having it in life insurance is if you don't use that $1 million on yourself and you just die, that $1 million goes to your heirs tax-free. So unlike a traditional life insurance policy where it's a reimbursement policy, you may not be able to use all the money or you may have to put more money out of your pocket, and if you die and don't use it, you lose it. With a life insurance policy that has a chronic illness rider, if you don't use the benefit, it goes to your heirs. So I need you to take a fresh look at this because I hear a lot of people say, I don't want long-term care insurance, Joe. It costs too much. I've heard too many horror stories. My friends, my relatives, they didn't get to use it. They lost it. That's in the past. Take a look. There's a lot of great life insurance companies out there offering cash indemnity policies through life insurance where you get the death benefit or you get the chronic illness benefit. One of those will be paid out because look, the odds are either you're going to get sick sometime in the future or you're going to die. The odds are 1 in 1. That's going to happen to you. So the beautiful thing about these policies is you're not wasting your money with them. You need to take a look at this, because at $300,000 a year of expenses, and currently the inflation rate on nursing homes are 3% per year. So that $300,000 is only going to get more and more expensive. You need to take a look at this. Reach out to a qualified, certified financial planner. Talk to them about your options, because part of a holistic plan is protecting your assets from a nursing home. The number one reason people go bankrupt in retirement are medical expenses. Please take a look at this. Now, I know we covered a lot today. Please, if you want to, rewind the video, watch it again, get some more information. If you have questions, reach out to us, send us an email, let us know. If you like this video, please hit like. Make sure you watch the other video on long-term care. I have a bunch of other educational videos here on Social Security and IRAs. Every single week we're coming out with new content, so make sure you check back. Again, my name is Joe Orbick. I thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you next time.